Most people spend their entire lives fighting the wrong enemy. They think the struggle is about not having enough. It isn't. The struggle is about inertia. If you have $2,000 in the bank, you are one car repair away from insolvency. You are a financial liquid. You take the shape of whatever container your boss or your landlord puts you in. You have no structural integrity. But $20,000? $20,000 is where the physics of money actually shifts. It's the point where you move from being a consumer to being a system. Today, we're performing a forensic audit on the first 20K. If you want the forensic truth behind the systems designed to keep you broke, hit the subscribe button. I'm going to show you why the first 5K is a nightmare, the first 10K is a trap, and why 20K is the escape velocity that changes your DNA. Let's look at the blood work of someone with $5,000. To the average person, 5K feels like a safety net. It's not. It's actually the most dangerous amount of money to have. Why? Because you're still subject to the desperation tax. When you have 5K, you still buy things based on monthly payments. You still settle for the job you hate because you're scared of a 3-week gap in pay. You are still a passenger. You're just a passenger with a slightly better seat. At 5K, a single dental emergency or a transmission failure resets your progress to 0. You're in a loop. To break the loop, you have to stop looking at money as spending power and start looking at it as negotiation leverage. Let's perform a surgical breakdown of why 5K is a nightmare. Meet Mark. Mark has exactly $5,000. He feels safe, so he keeps his job at the warehouse. He hates it, but it pays the bills. Because Mark only has 5K, he can't afford to move to a city with better jobs. He can't afford a $2,000 training course to level up his skills because that's 40% of his net worth. Mark is stuck in reactive mode. When his landlord raises the rent by $150, Mark complains, but he signs the lease. Why? Because the cost of moving, first month, last month, security deposit, and a U-Haul is $4,500. Mark's $5,000 safety net is actually a financial leash that keeps him exactly where his landlord wants him. At $10,000, something psychological happens. You start to feel comfortable. This is where most people die financially. You start thinking about upgrades. You think, I've worked hard, I have 10 grand, I can afford that $3,000 vacation or that down payment on the Tacoma. You just traded your freedom for a depreciating dopamine hit. 10K is the false ceiling. It's enough money to make you feel rich, but not enough money to make you powerful. If you spend it now, you are reset to the $5,000 nightmare. You haven't escaped, you've just lengthened your leash. Think about the math of the upgrade. If you take $8,000 of that 10K and put it down on a truck, you haven't just lost $8,000. You've lost the potential energy of that money. At 10K, you are halfway to the threshold of autonomy. By spending it, you've reset your clock by 3 years. You've traded 1,000 days of future freedom for a smell of new leather. The 10K mark is where the system sends you the most brochures. This is when the credit card offers get premium and the dealerships start calling. They know that at 10K, you're a high-value target who hasn't learned to say no to your own impulses yet. Now, let's look at $20,000. Why is this the magic number? Because $20,000 is the first time you can survive for 6 months without a master. When you have 20K, your body language changes. You don't realize it, but you stop asking for permission. You can walk into your boss's office and demand a raise, or walk away. You aren't brave, you're just mathematically protected. $20,000 is the first amount that actually generates meaningful, passive friction. At a 10% return, that's $2,000 a year for doing nothing. It's not a retire early money, but it's a buy a new MacBook every year for free money. This is the threshold of autonomy. At 20K, you stop being a high-status slave and you start becoming a strategist. Let's look at the strategist mindset. When you have 20K, you begin to see the world in yields. You realize that if you save just 10K more, your passive friction covers your groceries. If you hit 50K, it covers your rent. At 20K, you start making offensive decisions. You can buy a distressed asset. You can invest in a friend's startup. You can buy 2 years' worth of a commodity when the price drops. You are no longer spending money, you are deploying capital. The physics have flipped. Below 20K, money flows away from you. Above 20K, money starts to settle around you. The most expensive thing in the world is being poor. When you have $0, you buy the $20 boots that fall apart in 6 months. When you have $20,000, you buy the $200 boots that last 10 years. Wealthy people don't just have more money, they have lower costs. They pay $0 in interest because they pay cash. They get the best deals because they can wait for the market to dip. They don't pay late fees. The desperation tax is 20 to 30% of a poor person's income. $20,000 is the fee you pay to opt out of that tax forever. Let's audit the desperation tax on a common item: car insurance. If you pay monthly, you're often charged a $10 installment fee. Over 12 months, that's $120. If your premium is $1,200, you are effectively paying a 10% interest rate just for the privilege of being too broke to pay up front. The person with 20K pays the $1,200 in full, skips the fee, and keeps that $120. Over 40 years of adult life, that one tiny decision multiplied across insurance, bulk groceries, and cash discounts is the difference between retiring in a mansion or a studio apartment. $20,000 isn't just a number, it's a financial shield. The goal isn't $20,000. The goal is the mindset shift that happens once you hit it. Once you see how much power 20K gives you, you will never want to spend a dime on stuff ever again. You realize that a new car is just a $40,000 cage, but $20,000 in the bank is a get-out-of-jail-free card for the rest of your life. Stop being a passenger. I'm Cole. I calculate the truth so you don't have to live the lie. Hit the subscribe button if you're ready to hit escape velocity. The math doesn't lie, but your bank account might be. I'll see you in the numbers.